Hey guys, welcome back to the Glide tutorial. We're now on episode 15 and we're gonna start taking a look at the way we can actually control the player. So the big idea behind this game is that we're gonna be using the accelerometer to actually control our plane, but it might actually happen that our user does not have one. So if he doesn't have one, we're gonna revert back to swipe controls. So we're actually going to start by opening up the save state, and inside of the save state we're going to be keeping a preference of the player. So does he enjoy playing with the accelerometer more, or does he want to be using the swipe controls? At the very end down here, I'll be declaring a public bool called using accelerometer, and let's put that on true by default because we want the user to experience it the way we're making it for accelerometer basically. So let's just put that on true by default, and if he doesn't like it, he can actually turn it off on the menu. We're gonna have an option for that really soon. However, it might actually occur that the user does not have a accelerometer on the phone. So to actually check this out, we're gonna go in the save manager. At the very beginning here in the awake, we're gonna go down here and say, are we using the accelerometer and can we use it? So if state.using accelerometer and we're not able to use it, so not system.info, actually system info supports accelerometer. So if the system does not support and we're actually saying that we're using it, then we really can't use it because we don't have any. So if we can't, make sure we're not trying next time. So we're gonna say state using accelerometer is equal to false, and let's also save right away so we don't get the same problem next time we boot the game. Alright, so now we're going to move on to actually creating those controls, and the controls are going to be made in the manager script. The reason I'll be making them here is so I can access from pretty much everywhere and all the inputs are centralized basically. So down here, I will be creating a public vector3 and I'll call this get player input. Now, depending on if you're using the accelerometer or not, we're going to be having two different branches in here. So first, are we supporting the accelerometer? Actually, are we using is a better word here. So are we using this thing that I can't pronounce like 12 times? If we are, well, actually, let's do save manager instance state using accelerometer. All right, so if we made it in here, that means we can actually use it. So if we can use it, replace the y parameter we get, because that's going to be given to us in a vector3, by the z, because we do not need that y. I'll explain to you what goes on here. We're going to declare a vector3, call it a or something really temporary basically, and we're going to get the input acceleration. Then we're going to say a.y is going to equal a.z. Basically, when we're going to be holding our phone, we don't really want to know how tilted it is on the y-axis. We only want to be using the x and the z-axis. The reason I'm actually moving this here is because when we do swiping on the screen, the swiping actually use x and y, and I want to be making sure all my inputs are centralized basically. So I'm going to be storing the input of the accelerometer in x and y as well. So let's just do a return a right here. So this is what we do if we are using the accelerometer. Now if we're not, we're going to be reading all touches. So read all touches from the user. Then declare a vector3 r. That's going to be 0 at the beginning, so vector3 0. And then for each touches, so for each touch, I will just call touch in input.touches. And now for every single one of those, we're going to be storing them in a dictionary if we click, and we're going to be removing them from that same dictionary if we remove our finger. To have this work, we first need a dictionary. So I'll just be grabbing these two here, move them up because they annoy me, and we are going to be declaring a private dictionary int and also vector2. The first int here, the key, is going to be what is the touch ID, and then the vector2 is of course going to be the starting position. We're going to call them active touches. Let's make sure we create the dictionary right away so we don't get any reference later on. And then in our for each, we are going to look what state is the touch in. So if we just started pressing on the screen, then if touch.phase is equal to touch phase began, that means we're going to register that touch in our dictionary. The way we do this is by saying active touch.add, let's do touch finger ID, and then touch.position, just like this. And that's all we need to do in here. We just need to start, store the starting position. And then let's do it else if. So if we remove our finger off the screen, we'll do it else if touch.phase is equal to touch phase.ended. Then we also remove it from the dictionary. So active touch, let's do remove touch.finger ID. Let's also make sure it is in the dictionary just before that, in case something weird happens. So if active touch contains key is going to be touch.finger ID, of course. So if there is one, let's delete it. And then finally, in the else statement, our finger is either moving or stationary. In both cases, we're going to be using the delta. So in both cases, let's use the delta from the original position. Let's just say, let's use a delta. That's going to be a little bit easier. And to do this, we are going to get the magnitude. So float magnitude is equal to 0, and then R is equal to touch.position minus active touch at touch.finger ID. So we're making a delta. We're actually we're taking the current position of that finger minus where it was at the beginning. And then we're going to say mag is equal to R.magnitude divided by something like 300 seems to work for me. And I'll explain what this number is in a second. Then R is equal to R.normalize times magnitude. And then let's go ahead and just return it. So do we have a return R somewhere? Let's see, return R down here. Okay, now it's time for some bit of explaining right here. The magnitude is basically the distance you're going to be dragging your finger across. So if you start at the very beginning of your screen and your screen is, say, 800 pixel, then you drag your finger across, the magnitude is going to be 800. So this is what we calculate right here. And now the reason I'm actually doing it divided by 300 here is to give some kind of margin. So if you start dragging your finger at around, if you drag your finger around 100 pixel, that's going to be a third of the speed you can actually go in that direction. If you go 300, that's the maximum speed. And if you go 400, it doesn't matter. It's going to be capped at 300 in this case. So this is some kind of dead zone, you could say. And here we have it. We have the player input right there. Now to test it out, since we do not have any game scene, we don't have a player in a game scene, we're actually going to be affecting the menu camera. So I invite you to open up the menu camera, and we're going to be actually just writing something super simple, super quick right here in the update. We're going to be getting the inputs in here. So vector3 inputs is equal to manager.instance get player input. And what we're going to be doing right here is adding it up to the desired position. But we don't want to be modifying the desired position. We just want to be adding it up right here at the same place we do our lerp. So let's do a plus new vector3. Let's only use the y-axis also. So new vector3 0, x, and 0. Then we can also do times 0.01 since we have really messed up scaling right here. And the x here is actually meant to be input.x. Just like this. We could actually convert this into a float actually. So let's do float, call this x, and let's just do 8.x here. Here we go. So that's the code we get in the camera. Let's actually give this a try. Now, the only way for you to give this a try is by plugging in your phone, because there is no way for you to actually test this out with the touches, since touches don't work in the editor. And there's also no way for you to test it out using the accelerometer, because of course your computer doesn't have one. So if you haven't already, you should actually check out the tutorial I have on the channel that shows you how to plug in your remote. Or you could actually build this to your phone and just give it a try. What I'll do right now is I'll just put my remote on. So let me just quickly boot this up. So my phone is plugged in right now. It has the Unity remote application running. I'm gonna go under Edit, Project Settings, and let's go under Editor. And make sure my devices here are set on any Android device. If I try starting the game right now, is it going to work? It doesn't seem like it would work right now, so I'm going to quickly reset this Unity instance. And it should actually work now that I've resetted Unity. So let me just go into Preloader, and I will tell you in a second. I do get the game on my phone right now, so let me actually try and drag my finger on the screen. Right now, I'm on my phone playing through remote, and it works super good. So as you can tell, it's moving right there. That's because I'm dragging my finger on the screen, and these input actually works. This is actually where we're going to be ending today's episode. In the next one, we're going to be doing more tests. We're going to be bringing on the webcam as well, so you can see it in the real world. And we're going to be working with the tilt control. This one was only the swiping controls. We didn't use the accelerometer. We didn't test that out. So that's what we'll be doing in the next one. Of course, please leave a like on the video if you enjoy. Share it with your friends. Give me $1. That would be so very cool. And I could keep on making games for the rest of my life using that awesome $1 you gave me. So, alright guys, so thank you so much for watching. I will be seeing you in the next one.